Good evening, everybody. I'll get started here in a few minutes. I'll call attention to down below where you can view how many cyber listeners there are. I'm willing to bet that number is going to be high tonight. Hey, Drew.
Hey, Kory, how are you?
I'm good. How are
I'm
you,
good.
sir?
I'm very excited to see what you're going to be presenting tonight. Very excited to hear it. I'm looking forward to it. The MMTLP community is going to be turning out, and I mean we've been dealing with some bad actors lately. So
I have seen and heard, and I am not the least bit surprised. It's the same old crew. Nothing
yeah.
changes.
So I'm very excited to hear what you're going to be presenting tonight, and if possible, maybe I can, act as a whatever soundboard, whatever it is. If you have, if there are any questions that are DM to me, would it be okay if I asked them?
Yeah, that'll be fine. That'll be good. I'll have since Drew and I have actually never really spoke or talked or hung out or anything, you will be a perfect individual to be able to handle the DMs that come through for
Oh,
tonight's call. I can
I
say
have
in the
no clue. All I know is that I've been told by someone I trust that I can trust you, and I'm gonna, make that judgment, and I'm gonna be very objective. So if I give you what is perceived as a shot in the pills, please forgive me, but I got to be
Oh,
objective.
you're fine. So tonight is going to be a night that is a long time coming. And there has been a lot going on. For those who don't know me, you will learn a lot tonight. Um, I do want to apologize to Bailey and trying to remember the other Jarek. Yes, sorry for having you guys blocked. It does happen on occasion. It could have most likely, I believe that you were in a botnet that I had found, so that's probably where the block came from. So I do apologize, but you'll learn about that botnet either tonight or tomorrow. We'll see how, or not tomorrow, but in part two. This will be a continuing series. There is far too much to go over in one evening. And I owe it to everyone, including myself, after 2 years of documenting and research. This is not a get it done in 1 hour, give me the TLDR of it. For those who do know me, you know my disdain for TLDR. Don't ever say that to me because I'll block you instantly on that one. So, with that, I have written out everything that I'm going to say tonight. I will take breaks. If there's a significant amount of questions coming in on a certain topic, maybe pop in and stop me. But I'm going to try to get through as much as I can, and then do questions at the end. So, and I apologize for those who do know me. The Huskies are alive and well. I have 4 Huskies, so they get loud. All right. So I don't think I have any messages right now. So the world that we live in is changing before our very eyes. And the digital world has been a big part that continues to shape our futures. From sharing research to online learning to funny cat videos and connecting with friends and family, the social ecosystem continues to change, evolving daily. Things are never quite what they seem. Nothing can be taken at face value, and strangers making promises cannot be trusted. Sadly, based on my own observation and nearly 2 years of research, it appears that the majority of real individuals that we know on this platform and other social platforms have been victimized or know someone who has been a victim to fraud or a scam in some way. And Into the Shadows will be highlighting quite a bit of that in the coming days and weeks. Now, let me preface, I am not a leading industry professional in this field. I have spent a substantial amount of time dedicated to learning and providing information about social engineering and social media manipulation, and documenting everything that I have observed on FinTwit for the past 2 years. And boy, have I learned a lot. Fraudsters no longer look like bad guys that we expect. They're young crypto exchange founders in t-shirts claiming they're philanthropists. They're social media influencers. They're quote unquote single moms screaming loudly, "I'm a retail investor," or "I'm not a shill," and proclaiming they're small business owners who seem to spend all their time focused on a stock that they're either no financial interest in, or the flip side, they claim to have a financial interest in, but never seem to work the job that they apparently own. Such is the world that we live in. A world where anyone can fake anything or hide behind the anonymity of the internet while preying on innocent people who can't see it happening. And so fraud grows, while the consequences for those committing it rarely materialize. And make no mistake, this phenomenon is not new, nor is it isolated to a single social media platform. From Shazupan schemes to phishing scams to coordinated pump and dump and poop and scoop schemes, it's a tale as old as time that evolves with every tick of the clock. And that leads to more fraud. And so a new wave of criminals have changed the face of fraud. And it's happening every day, right here on Twitter and on Facebook and on Instagram and across every other social platform. In mythology, shapeshifters have the ability to transform themselves through superhuman powers. Taking that concept, I would equate the new wave of criminals to be cyber shifters. They leverage technology, social platforms, accessible artificial intelligence, and integrate psychological techniques and tactics into their very plans. They communicate and collaborate with each other in real time through encrypted apps to ensure their messages remain hidden. They shift their attack vectors on a dime, and what I have come to discover during these 2 years of research is they have played both sides of the same coin across multiple platforms in dozens of stocks, sowing chaos, confusion, and division by weaponizing social issues and other current event issues, such as politics, and leveraging individuals alongside them within different stock communities. Whether those key individuals are willfully assisting, coerced, or just blindly ignorant is yet to be known, and my opinion on that will be kept to myself. But one thing is certain. Cyber shifters could care less about the consequences that may befall anyone they trick into assisting them. They have taken great measures to ensure their anonymity, while oftentimes using others as purely cannon fodder, or the decoy, or the fall guy. They can overcome almost any obstacle or rule because they dynamically adapt. And they do all of this in plain sight, oftentimes flaunting exactly what it is that they are doing, and then recanting with "just kidding," or even worse, projecting their devious tactics onto the very innocent victims they have deemed as their next quote-unquote mark. These techniques and tactics are most commonly found in extremist groups and influence or propaganda groups. I'll be talking about those more later this evening and in the coming days and weeks. Now, I have not only witnessed this in real time, but I have been the victim of their passive bribery attempts, harassment, intimidation, and death threats, as they used individuals within their network to deflect, amplify, and reverse victim and offender roles, most commonly known as DARVO, something most recently seen in the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard case. Their persistent attacks on myself, my family, my children, my loved ones, and those who appeared associate with me was only the beginning. The level of coordination between members of this group is as impressive from a psychological technology standpoint as it is disturbing and scary. But it grew increasingly worse, even to the extent of certain cyber predators involved sending death threats to myself, abusing the court system through at least 2 different third parties on 2 separate occasions, framing up false allegations against individuals, and intimidating and harassing an attorney, all while this group of individuals played victim and sat inside of echo chambers, defaming, slandering, and continuing to intimidate so many people. Yes, this is what happens on social media. Why? Well, the intent is to scare and intimidate, continuing to intimidate so many people. Excuse me. Lost my spot. The intent is to scare and intimidate investors within targeted publicly traded companies who's posed a threat to those uncovering their tactics. Make no mistake, this group is well organized. It is not new to this fraudulent practice. By their own admittance, it has been going on for quite a long time and on more than one occasion. While my profile was deactivated, I was not blind to what continued in what appeared to be my absence. Silently sitting, I continued my research, documenting everything happening across multiple stock communities. You see, most people assumed that I was only in AMC. I was not. I have documented this phenomenon happening across dozens of quote-unquote meme stocks, watching closely, often silently. Oh no, there is a very divisive tactics to the entire elitist personalities that appear within every social stock community. So what's the purpose of them and how? It's simple. They sow chaos, confusion, anger, propaganda, amplify well-placed individuals inside of each stock community, gathering information on individuals from their name to their birthdays to cell phone numbers, as those individuals suddenly begin to see an increase of spam text messages and calls, direct messages, emails, oftentimes creating fun things that they can be mailed to people just to gather an address. These are all documented occurrences happening. Thankfully, I knew of groups like these existence and their tactics. Witnessing it happen across various social platforms over the years, this allowed me to anticipate their moves for quite some time now. How? Well, as I stated in the trailer, not all hobbies appear on resumes, and I look damn good in a white hat. And if you know what that means, good. I am not what that implies. I am something entirely different. I am necessary evolution of it. I believe in the justice system. I believe in the American legal system. And I believe in doing what is right. And that is why, over a year ago, I willingly provided information to federal authorities as well as submitted information to the Securities and Exchange Commission. My mistake was stating as such publicly, and it is something that I would highly recommend no one ever do. Keep it to yourself. Why? After stating that I had filed a whistleblower report and stupidly posted a picture of the report, however, using a marker to conceal specific information, the group of individuals using tactics not commonly used or known by most social media users lightened the photo to reveal what was underneath the marker. A mistake that I should not have made. So, where have I been? This has been the hardest part for me to write. So, where have I been? Why have some of you who are newer here not ever seen me before? Well, tonight you'll find out precisely why. And I hope all of this information allows each of you to be a little safer, a little wiser, and a lot more guarded about what is happening on social media platforms such as Twitter today. And I hope this shines a light into the shadows, illuminating a dangerous and growing systemic issue on platforms such as Twitter. I have spent many months thinking about this day and what all I had to say when I returned. What would I say? What would I reveal? What should I ethically reveal? Well, I do not intend to spend a great deal of time talking about what has happened over the last 9 to 10 months. I knew I had to address the elephant in the room, given the amount of abusively false information published by this influence group about me, in my absence, and even since my return. Hell, even today, right now. Make no mistake, this is not the work of one person. This is not a troll, but an entire networked influence group, and utilizing numerous psychological and technical tactics and positioning themselves alongside a few members of the media. To quote one of the unknown individuals of this group, I quote, "Control the echo chamber." That's their words, not mine. But those very words will be highlighted tonight in ways you cannot begin to imagine. But I digress. Some might say I would be justified in quote unquote calling them out and saying their names publicly, or quote putting them on blast. After all, they did it to me, right? Eye for an eye. And according to Twitter rules, I could say their names, and that's not considered doxing. But I won't. Why? Because it's not who I am. That's where I have stood apart from them. I do not stoop to those levels. Some may say that's a weakness, while I would disagree and say it's my greatest strength and what sets me apart. And while anger is an emotion most of you would expect from someone having gone through the hell that I have been put through the last year, pity would actually be the best word to describe my emotion for them, or rather, for one of them. I pity anyone who has the nerve to play victim while being what appeared to be a fleeing felon for 6 years. And I pity anyone so stupid as to frame up another person with such insane accusations while there was, again, what appeared to be active warrants in another state for their arrest. Now, that's someone I pity a great deal. I think having to live life on the lam for 6 years, fleeing from state to state, unable to work due to apparent warrants, having to lie about their very existence and name, well, that's just sad. Make better life choices. And maybe don't commit grand larceny and flee sentencing to another state and run for 6 years while using disabilities as a grift to get money. But hey, that's just me. So I'll show a modicum of restraint and mercy. And I will say this: no, I do not plan on, now or ever, saying their name, nor do I support harassing, intimidating, or even making fun of this individual. I will shut any person down who does it. I do not tolerate it. I have seen more harassment and bullying in the last year than anyone should see in a lifetime. That is what I stand for. I always have, and I always will. Now, let me say this. I do not pity, and listen closely, fanboys and girls, because I know you're listening through the shadows. I do not pity those who would knowingly collude, lie, read from scripts, and fabricate stories and space calls while claiming to not know what was going on and still, quote unquote, reading up on things when you most certainly fucking knew. I certainly do not pity anyone stupid enough to antagonize, intimidate, harass, or threaten an attorney using a fake account on social media using an iPhone to do it. Running around claiming to be small business owners who never seem to be at work, claiming to be stay-at-home moms, claiming to be retail investors to blend in, to gain the trust of real people as part of the quote-unquote Reddit scam playing out online today. Well, the real scammers are about to be pulled from the shadows. And this shit show of a poop and scoop, pump and dump mixed with Shazoo Pan pig butchering scheme is cooked. Now, I know the Cyber Shifters fan club is reeling and screaming victim already, as I'm sure they're scrambling to flip the scripts and continue playing victim, abusively tweeting about mental disorders or other hateful comment aimed at discrediting and defaming me or anyone who poses a threat to them. It is a tactic so commonly associated with extremist groups and influence groups. It's as plain as day. And I'm sure they will continue to hang on every word, every tweet, even when blocked, in an abusive, manipulative attempt to file more abusive lawsuits in order to cause financial distress and silence me or anyone whom have figured out their con. With every attack, you only further substantiate the terabytes of evidence and examples already documented, stored, and sent off to authorities. The allegations made about myself are not only viciously false, they were premeditated by a large group of individuals actively seeking to harass, intimidate, threaten, bring about financial harm to, and frame up myself and countless other individuals to not only defame and discredit me, but to harass and intimidate me online and offline and into silence. And with the intent of scaring me away from showing up to my court date. And with the intent to harass and intimidate someone who filed a whistleblower report. Why? Well, to quote what appears to be the ringleader, he knew too much. And to quote another individual closely associated with this group, and I'm paraphrasing this one, he printed out an SEC complaint and labeled ours major players and contrarians and posted it on Twitter. He asked for it, so I'm celebrating him, end quote. Playing victim to the very tactics that you used on countless victims across dozens of stocks, and while feeding information to pseudonym accounts who then abusively attack real people, those are the poor bastards I don't pity at all. In fact, you're the fucking plague that's infecting social media today. These tactics may be effective for the uninitiated and unknowing, but they were anticipated. And that's what caused me to be the biggest threat to them. I think it was Bain who said it best. Theatricality and deception are powerful agents to the uninitiated. But we are initiated, aren't we, Mr. Wayne? And that we are, Bain. That we are. Moving on. Tonight is not about me, or rather, not about what I went through. It's but a piece of the overarching puzzle that I have witnessed, researched, unfortunately fell victim to, and documented for the past 2 years. Watching it in real time, I saw it happening. And so 2 years ago, I set out to prove a hypothesis that the stock market was being manipulated through social engineering by way of paid actors, bots, cyborg accounts, and sock puppet accounts. And I could not have been more spot on. I knew with my knowledge on the subject, my lack of knowledge on the stock market, I made for the perfect, quote unquote, their words, mark. as one of them likes to say. Having seen their tactics play out in the Doge community, as I sat quietly learning about cryptocurrency in January of 2021, I knew if I gave out my real name, a bit of false information about myself, I would become a target for those with not pure intent, so to speak. And as I hypothesized, I uncovered the silent but dangerous actors portraying themselves as everyday people. The single mom next door, the nurse allegedly being attacked and harassed, the badass New Yorker gal with a take no shit attitude, to the abusive infighting between very specific women. Now, don't mistake this for misogyny. I am a gay man, and I have seen enough harassment, bullying for a lifetime. I support all men and women equally. But there was a common theme, and it was intentional. Consistently using weaponized deflection. Many of the quote-unquote influencer individuals on Twitter were females. Several, not so coincidental, factors were discovered, but for the sake of time and preserving information for authorities, I will not be discussing those things tonight. Now, I watched this play out across multiple stock communities as if it was scripted, and at times, the very words used were almost verbatim. Again, almost as if it was scripted. And on a platform consisting predominantly of men, while attractive women, some real, some not so real, work their ways into stock communities, gathering individuals' trust, gathering personal information, a bigger picture began to surface, and it was one I studied years ago. It's called Shazupan, or the pig butchering scheme. Now, for those that don't know, Shazupan is Chinese that loosely translates to pig butchering. You most recently saw this announced by the SEC on Monday. It's best known as the romance scam, and while this is actually funny. It's best known as the romance scam, and while a few poorly faked online relationships formed and very publicly ended within each stock community, romance was not the ploy. But the same concept and tactic has been deployed across every stock community that I have personally witnessed on Twitter. The name Shazupan translates as pig butchering scam. Excuse me. It's best known as the romance scam, and while a few wrong paragraph. And it's the romance scam that commonly originates in countries in Southeast Asia, most often China. These are large operations. They run in a corporation-like structure, often with employees and offices, and are not run by single individuals. Conspiracy? All you need to do is look to the DOJ's Twitter page, as they published on Monday. The very scam itself hit cryptocurrency too. Shocker. The name of the scam derives from how these scams operate. A host works to build a relationship and rapport, and I hope everyone in this room listens very, very, very closely. A host works to build a relationship and rapport with a victim, quote unquote, the pig, before scamming them and encouraging them to invest large amounts of money in an online investment platform, which is operated by the same group of scammers that they refer the victim to. The host does not immediately try to scam a victim upon initiating contact. They take their time, waiting weeks or sometimes even months before slyly introducing the pig to the scam that will result in them being scammed and losing a lot of money. Similar to fattening a pig up before slaughter, hence the name. Once the victim starts, quote, investing in the scam, the victims won't immediately know it and will often put more and more money into the scam. The host will continue to milk the victim for all they're worth. Now, how this differs today is it's apparent and it's confirmed that several of these individuals involved are US based, albeit accounts have been identified portraying themselves as US citizens and retail and investors in an attempt to blend in. But numerous indicators, including word choice, punctuation, and a few other grammarly indicators, give away that English is not their native language, so to speak. I found more than a few instances of the misusage of punctuation in a sentence, something the majority of social media users would not catch and consider a typo. But when repeatedly used, it's a pattern. And I will say this: German and Russian use quotation marks in a very different manner than English. And I found it. I found a lot of it. Now, I could go on about the pig butchering, but I'm saving that entirely for a different night. The romance scam aside, like I said, I did see some very poorly acted online relationships play out between 8 different individuals in just one stock, mind you. That was just 8 in one stock. It was comical to watch, but it was the trust side of the scam, seemingly building up trust in communities with select influential people, while other individuals arrived out of nowhere on large platforms and established YouTube channels with thousands of followers, yet are only a few weeks old. I'm going to stop at that point for a second and explain something. I have used the word bot, I have used the word sock puppet, and I've used the word cyborg. And I recognize that there are a lot of new people in here who may not know me. I know that there are a lot of people in here who do. For the sake of those who don't, I have spent 2 years learning myself, as well as providing sourced, documented information on social engineering tactics and technology. Too oftentimes we hear the words shill, or bot, or troll. And I am hoping tonight, each of you will not only learn the proper technology, but use it. Why is that important? Tonight, more than ever, you are about to see and hear why. A bot is a user account controlled by a computer. It is not a human. Much like with GPT, it's getting far more difficult to detect bots, but it's still possible, which threw a wrench into scammers and fraudsters' ability to disseminate disinformation, misinformation, and scams. So, much like all of the rest of us in society today, the clock ticks on, technology grows, and so do they. To bypass the algorithms that detect bots, they began logging into the bot accounts a percentage of the time each day or every other day, and manually running that account, giving it a more humanistic view, so to speak. Therefore, throwing off the algorithms that can detect if it's a bot or not. Those accounts are known as cyborgs. And yes, these are technical terms. These are not made up. And I can assure you, MMTLP, when I brought up sock puppet for the first time, people thought I was a lunatic. Look it up. That is the technical term for what I'm about to explain to all of you. Sock puppet is an account that is operated maliciously and with deception as intent by an individual, oftentimes for fraud or nefarious purposes. There is a distinct difference between a troll and a sock puppet. Again, a sock puppet has ill intent. A troll is someone entirely different. A shill, I can't stand that name. AMC and GameStop will tell you nobody uses the terminology right. So if you use it, God, look up the definition. So now that you know what a bot, a sock puppet, and a cyborg is, here is why this runs so rampant. I am going to use an example. And you all are on your phones right now. So I would like all of you to open up Safari, Chrome, any whatever browser you have. Go to Google and type in Botometer. Botometer was one of the most reliable resources for detecting bots when it came out. I live in Indiana, and it was developed right here in Indiana at Indiana University, one of the leading universities in social engineering and social manipulation research. Here in the coming weeks, I can't say when yet, I will be having industry leaders from the fields of cybercrime, from the fields of social engineering and psychology. And I'm very fortunate, extremely fortunate, to have already lined up and spoken to one of the most leading criminal psychologists in cybercrime and works with the FBI. His name is Dr. Nuccitelli. He will be featured in the docuseries as well that is set to begin filming this summer, early summer, May. My goal is I want leading professionals to be the one speaking. I don't want to be the one speaking. I'm not the professional. I'm simply not. But I can sit here and very much say all of the research that I have compiled, it appears that this network of individuals has played both sides of the coin. And it's scary to see it happening, and it's scary to see that played out day in and day out. There is so much to tell everyone, and it's too much to tell everyone in one day. It's a lot to grasp. So I have slated between 8 and 12 space calls. The frequency at which they will happen, I have not yet determined. I'm a financial aid officer at a college, so it's getting to be that busy time of year for me, or it has been. So it will most likely be next week. I will have one, possibly 2 more calls. Now, I'm not done yet tonight, but I'm giving brief overview tonight because in the days and weeks to come, each night will be specific about one specific topic to allow everyone to take in all of the information. So I'm going to continue on. Drew, any DMs yet?
Let's see.
I need to take a drink.
Yeah, you listen, man. You got to have a bottle of water next to you every time you do
For
one
real.
of these things. We should have done a little pre-game conversation. I would have told you that.
I'm a little out of practice. I've
One
been
of the
forced
DMs
back into the shadows.
One of the DMs says tell Kory to DM you the names, and you can say them out loud because you're crazy enough to do it.
Okay, so as funny as that is, man, I get it. I get the humor in that.
Because I don't give a shit. I'll say it.
So here's the thing. And I was going to save this for a night of its own entirely, but I will do a brief little snippet on doxing and this group. I have watched play out some of the most orchestrated bullshit that I have ever seen in my life, and I'm going to give an example. Ant Trades. I saw that account get doxed, and something you guys are all, here's a little preview of the holy, he's not playing. So I am very good at looking at source code. I'll just say it that way. And that is not the original Ants Trades. How do I know this? Because each one of you little profiles down there are assigned a unique Twitter ID that is embedded in code. I will not say where yet. I will save that for the space call. Because each of you, it's public information. So before Crying Game out there goes crying about being hacked or anything, no, this is public information that you all can look up. Hell, shit, you can go Google right now. How do I find my Twitter ID? But there's something called the Wayback Machine. And I quite enjoy surfing data. And I will say that the Ants Trades that was portrayed not too long ago and doxed, 100% is not the original Ants Trades. And this is the moment everything hits the fan. There are accounts portraying themselves as retail investors that all have a tell. That tell is this: I got hacked. Oh, I'm taking a break. And they come back under a new account. And then they go and park. It's called parking a handle. So you all knew me originally as KoryAMC. I never parked that handle. It's why an individual cyber predator was able to impersonate me. The same with my old original from years ago. An AMC community watched that play out where I was stalked, my children were stalked, and my kid's mom was stalked, their teacher was stalked. It was disturbingly scary. And yes, the FBI got involved. And contrary to popular beautician's opinion, the FBI did not come to my house nor the sheriff's department because of that individual. They came because of me. And that is documented on police reports. Nice try. Take another swing, Crying Game. Now, what you can do is pay attention. They like to hijack handles. And then they will go and park it. So these individuals who suddenly were hacked or leave and come back, check their account. This is something no one pays attention to. When was the account created? Now, AMC knows, I preached this for a long time, and they learned pretty well to watch those things. If there is anything I can pass on, I don't care what stock you're in. If you're a social media user, you have got to learn to be more attentive to detail of things for your own safety and security. They are intentionally stealing handles to impersonate and coerce individuals, at the very least, into assisting them. They're looking for personal information so that they can go and pull data on you. MMTLP, you just need to search my profile. I can assure you, all of the data is right there for you to see it happening from the last 2 years to me. Very real and scary.
That's MMTLP.
Oh, did I say the wrong? What did I say?
You said MMTP.
Totally my fault.
Just pointing it out.
Well, I've even typed it, so I know it's MMTLP. So parking handles. Why do they do that? I can give everybody a perfect example in about 30 seconds. I need to reactivate something. So, as an example, I changed my handle to Kory Corner from KoryAMC1 back in December. And I created a new KoryAMC1 and I locked it down just as they do. And I want you all to see what happens with your